You set a rule. Someone broke it, and you did nothing. That's not mercy. That's weakness wearing a mask. You think you have power. You don't. Power without enforcement is just noise. It's a threat no one believes. A boundary drawn in sand. You're not respected. You're tolerated. And toleration is just pity with better manners. Let's talk about why you're failing. Standards mean nothing if you won't defend them. You can write all the rules you want. You can talk about boundaries. You can tell people what you expect. But the moment someone crosses the line and walks away untouched, you've taught them something. You've taught them you're not serious. You've shown your hand. And it's empty. This is the reality most people refuse to see. They think setting the standard is the hard part. It's not. The hard part is what comes after. When someone tests you, when they push, when they violate what you said mattered. That's the moment that defines everything. And most of you fold. You make excuses. You rationalize. You tell yourself it's not that big of a deal. You say you'll let it slide this time. Just once. But there's no such thing as once. Every unenforced consequence is a lesson. It teaches people that your words are decorative, that your standards are suggestions, that you can be worn down. I've watched this happen in every context. Parenting, leadership, relationships, business. Someone sets a rule. The rule gets broken. And then, nothing. Maybe a conversation. Maybe a warning. Maybe some disappointment expressed in a soft voice. But no real consequence. No actual enforcement. And the person who broke the rule? They learned exactly what they needed to know. You won't do anything. You're a paper tiger. All growl, no teeth. This is why weak people never hold authority for long. Not because they lack vision. Not because they can't articulate standards. But because they can't stomach what enforcement requires. Enforcement is uncomfortable. It creates conflict. It forces you to be the bad guy. It means losing people sometimes. It means watching someone face consequences and not rescuing them. And most people can't handle that. They'd rather be liked than respected. They'd rather keep the peace than keep their word. So they let it slide. And then they wonder why no one listens. Here's what I think happens, though I could be wrong. I think people confuse compassion with cowardice. They think that being understanding means letting people off the hook. It doesn't. Compassion can coexist with consequences. In fact, real compassion often demands them. Because when you fail to enforce your standards, you're not just weakening yourself. You're weakening the person who violated them. You're teaching them that accountability is optional, that integrity is negotiable, that they can get away with it. And that's not kindness. That's complicity in their degradation. Let's address the excuses now. I don't want to be too harsh. Too harsh. What does that even mean? You set a boundary. They crossed it knowingly. And you think enforcing the consequence you already established is harsh? You're not being harsh. You're being consistent. Harshness would be punishing them for something they didn't know. This isn't that. They knew. And they chose to cross the line anyway. That's not your cruelty. That's their gamble. Next excuse. I don't want to lose them. Then you've already lost. Because what you have right now isn't respect. It's a hostage situation where you're the hostage. You're so afraid of losing them that you'll tolerate anything. That's not a relationship. That's a ransom negotiation. And you're paying every day. Here's the truth you're avoiding. If enforcing a boundary costs you the relationship was already broken. People who respect you don't make you choose between your standards and their presence. They just don't. So if they're forcing that choice, they've already decided you don't matter. You're just too afraid to see it. But what if I'm wrong? What if you are? You think that question protects you? It doesn't. It paralyzes you. You'll never have perfect certainty. You'll never have all the information. But you have enough. You set the standard for a reason. It was violated. That's enough. Enforce it. And if you were wrong, adjust later. But don't use uncertainty as an excuse for inaction. Because here's what happens when you do nothing. The violation becomes normal. The exception becomes the rule. And your authority evaporates. You don't get it back by being nicer. You don't reclaim it with a heartfelt conversation. Authority, once surrendered, is almost impossible to recover. Because people remember. They remember the moment you blinked, the moment you backed down, and they will test you again. Harder this time. I don't care how you feel about this. I don't care if it makes you uncomfortable. Your feelings are not the point. Duty is the point. And your duty is to enforce what you claim to believe. If you said something mattered, act like it matters. If you drew a line, defend it. If you made a rule, uphold it. Or admit you were lying from the start. Admit that your standards are performance art. That your boundaries are suggestions. That your word means nothing. At least then you'd be honest. Time is running out. Not in some abstract philosophical way. In a literal, measurable way. Every day you fail to enforce your standards, you lose ground. You lose respect. You lose authority. You lose yourself. And you can't get that time back. The people watching you right now are making decisions. They're deciding whether you're serious, whether you mean what you say, whether you're someone worth following or just someone worth ignoring. And every unenforced violation is a vote. A vote that says you're not serious, that you can be pushed, that you're weak. You think you have time to fix this later. You don't. Later is a fantasy. Later is where weak people hide. The moment is now. Right now. Someone has violated your standard. Enforce the consequence. Do it today. Not tomorrow. Not after you've thought about it more. Not after you've talked to someone else. Today. Because if you don't, tomorrow you'll have 2 violations. Then 4. Then it won't matter anymore. The structure will collapse. And you'll be left wondering what happened. What happened is simple. You refused to do your duty. You refused to be uncomfortable. You chose feeling over function. And you paid for it. Here's the final truth. Enforcement is not optional. It's not a choice you get to make based on how you feel. It's the price of having standards at all. You want people to respect your boundaries? Defend them. You want your word to carry weight? Back it up. You want authority? Earn it by being willing to enforce what you claim to believe. Or give it up. Stop pretending. Stop setting rules you won't uphold. Stop drawing lines you won't defend. Just admit you're operating on hope and vibes. At least then no one will be confused. The weak have no peace. Peace is the reward of power. And power is the willingness to enforce consequences without hesitation. Without apology. Without guilt. You either enforce your standards or you abandon them. There's no middle ground. There's no, this time I'll let it slide. There's only the choice. And the clock is ticking. Tick-tock. The coffin is being measured, not just for the person who violated your rule. For you. For your authority. For your integrity. Every second you wait, the coffin gets a little closer to finished. Move now. Enforce the consequence. Do your duty. Or accept that you never had power to begin with. The choice was always yours. But the window is closing.